Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. I'm your host, Mike D. I am here with the man, Kenneth Alexander. Kenneth is an award-winning entrepreneur, author of The Successful Man, International Men's Magazine contributor, and and speaker exploring how boys are conditioned to disconnect from their emotions and equate worth with performance. Kenneth, thank you for coming on the show. We need you.
Thanks so much, Michael. I really appreciate the introduction, and I'm very happy to be on the show.
We're thrilled to have you.
Yeah, I think that what you're doing is needed. Listen to the show, and you bring on some very interesting guests, and I was really anxious to get on the show and chop it up with you.
Well, I
Uh,
appreciate it. Listen, again, I am I'm ex I'm ecstatic about this because, again, like I told you, you know what? I love the diversity in the show, and I wanna have some more adult black men on the show, plain and
yeah.
simple, secret and that, and it's just because our young boys need to see more positivity.
Yeah, great. Yeah, yeah. I have a couple sons myself,
Yeah,
but I'm a father, a grandfather, a great grandfather,
okay.
and I tell you, man, being a grandfather, especially to my granddaughters, I mean, it's a joy. I have one going to HBCU right now. She's a freshman, and even when she's, a baby, we hung out and, we would go to the movies together, and even to this day, when she comes home, she'll be home for spring break, and she's gonna say,
Yeah,
"Hey, Baba, uh, can we go to the movies?" I mean, it's about the time that you spend
right.
with them, and I have a 7-year-old, and it's the same thing. We hang out, we watch Bluey, we do a bunch of stuff, but, but but about me, I mean, that's the most important thing about me is family,
Yeah,
and
and I
and
feel the
and
same way.
right, and so I've been in a lot of spaces. I've been, um, I played high school football. I went to the Marine Corps. I played college football. I've been in. I've been out there in the corporate world. I used to work for a defense contractor. Traveled to 45 countries doing that, doing global
Right,
business development, been an entrepreneur, I d a lot of stuff, man. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And I have a lot of friends, and I know a lot of guys, and I've been a lot in a lot of men's spaces. And so what what I'm talking and what I bring here is lived experience. It's not
right,
just something I read, not just whatever. So, that's why I look forward, and that's why how I could write the book, The Successful Man, A New Vision of Masculinity.
right.
And just a lot of the patterns that I saw from me being a child growing up and being a sensitive kid. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of the introduction, my introduction right there.
Well, we're
And
definitely gonna talk about the book for that, that's for sure, 'cause
yeah,
I have questions. So, but for people meeting you for the first time, who is Kenneth Alexander beyond the resume?
yeah. Who am I? I am somebody that started out as a sensitive, tenderhearted kid, and that was shut down early because
Right,
that's not what you see. And for the longest time, I wore a mask, but it took a while. It took me to middle life to even start working on myself and become the person that I am today. That is, and I lead with my heart
right.
and try to be authentic and and just be open and honest you know, uh, uh, with whatever space I'm in. Just try to be my authentic self. That's who I am, and I'm a guy that, like I said, I just kind of lead with my heart and try to. I mean, I don't have a problem with going first. Expressing emotion or expressing and just I am who I am. I mean, when you see me, I don't I used to wear a mask and I don't wear a mask anymore.
And I can tell you without hesitation, that is something I'm striving for, is to be okay with expressing myself however I want to. And that's been something I've always struggled with my entire life, because I grew up, boys don't cry, get up, stop whining, nah, 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 you know, men are this, men are that, and it's just something that's always stuck with me for so long that fortunately for me, as a father, I didn't push that same thing on my boys, you know, and it's something that it's been a process, like I can tell you right now, I haven't cried in hell 15 years, you know, and that is something I need to learn how to do because it's an emotion. I know that it's a release of stress and all these other things that I just want to be able to be comfortable enough to do that. Right now it's still, I'm getting there. I feel much better expressing myself with certain people. And I think from the podcast angle, it's allowed me talking to other guys, hearing their struggle, knowing that I'm not that different from everybody else.
No,
And, you
go ahead.
know,
I'm sorry.
oh, no, no, you're good. I'm just saying that I understand now that I'm not so different from everybody else. There's men who have had the same struggle. They've just, they've just found their way through.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm not pumping the book, but I did a lot of research for the book, and
Yeah,
as I did that, I would speak to a lot of men, and first I'll go back to my story. As I was
yeah, yeah.
saying that when I was a kid, I'm one of 6 boys, and there was one girl, and she was the baby. And I
Mhm.
would come from an inner city neighborhood. At the time I grew up, there were kids everywhere, boys, we ran around or whatever,
Yes.
but
Oh, yeah.
I was teased for being, uh being tenderhearted.
Yeah.
I was emotional. I could, I had empathy. I could, I think I could feel what other people were feeling,
Right.
but I was teased for that. And, I could get on the phone and call my little brother today and he said, yeah, yeah, and, calling me by my nickname and say, yeah, he was soft. He was this, he was that,
Yeah.
at that time. But so in order to protect yourself, you have to put on a mask.
Yes.
You have to wear it and you can't show that emotion. And after wearing a mask so long, you and so the thing is what you have to do is you have to disconnect from those feelings. And
Right.
and after so long, that connection is severed. You don't have access to those feelings. And so you get to a certain point and all you have, almost all your feelings come out is anger and anxiety and whatever. You don't even
Yes, sir.
know. I recall people asking me, "So what do you feel?" I mean, you like your significant other or whoever it is that a woman in your life, and you just sitting there with that blank look, like I don't know what I feel. I have no idea. Because like anything, like it's atrophy. If you don't exercise a muscle, it just
Yeah. It
yeah,
withers. It
it
withers.
withers. And so that is men that we don't have access to feelings. I kind of equate feelings to say in your car. You got the gauges right there. You're looking at it,
Right.
right? And the oil light comes on. And the oil light comes on, he's like, man, I better do something about this. I better take it to the shop, right? Well, feelings are the gauges for men. I mean, for people. Those are the
Right.
things how you know whether you're doing okay or not okay. And if you have this feeling come up and you don't know which gauge came on, I mean, it could be the tire. It could be
Right.
something. But for men, you can't even analyze and see what's wrong. So it all just comes out as anger and that that's a problem. And
Yeah.
so the question is, how do I feel again? How do I connect back to my feelings? And the thing is that, and what I talk about is, and I know you have a lot of people that come on your show and they talk about, they have a lot of like therapies and they have ideas on how men can do better.
Yeah.
But nobody ever really looks at the system that we use or investigates the system that
Yes.
the inherited beliefs, rules, and systems that we use to train men, to take
Yeah.
boys and bring them to men too, because we were all joyful little boys. What
Yeah.
happened to the joy?
But we've taken it out of boys because literally, when boys start expressing themselves, even at an early age, people they nix that. I mean, no matter what the emotion is, if it's not something that if it's any sort of emotional outburst, boys are required to push that emotion down. No, you're not supposed to be this way. You're supposed to be this and that and nothing else. You get two emotions, you're happy or you're sad. That's it. You
Yeah,
know,
and
boys are
other
not right. They're not allowed to, they're not allowed to express anything, you know, out of the norm.
right, I agree with you, and that is exactly right. And so my thing is that we have to look at the way we rear boys. We have to look at those rules, and one of those is don't cry.
Right.
The one is be tough. The one is you label, that's my little man. That's it. And so how we instill these things in them, it, and it's all, uh, as I examine this whole system of which I call the doctrine, that's all the rules and the systems. I mean, and they're everywhere in our society. They start
Right.
early. They start. Uh, so you have the doctrine, and then it's all based. And a lot of men don't want to hear this, but it's really starts in the foundation of it is patriarchy, and and built on patriarchy, I have like these these 7 pillars that I have that kind of that I discovered that we use to basically train men. I mean, so like competition, dominance, emotional suppression, these are all the things, scarcity, polarity, external validation, and hierarchy. I mean, and
Okay.
if you look in our world today, all of that is just alive and well. And if it's patriarchy,
Yeah.
we're the ones doing it. I
Right.
mean, and so, and I'm gonna give you an example. As early as, I don't know, preschool, kindergarten, when you first the introduce musical chairs.
Okay.
And so you have musical chairs, and say you have 10 kids, and so there's 10 kids there and 9 chairs, and then you turn the music on, and they go around, one kid's out. He's like, "Man, I didn't get a chair. What happened?" So the next thing you know is you come down, you go through all the rounds, and it's one kid with a chair and he's sitting there. And so what are the kids learning at this early age? That there's not enough seats at the table, and they're learning scarcity, and it's not
Right.
enough to go around. And I gotta get out here and you know I gotta hustle and grind, and so the next time I play this musical chairs game, I'm gonna get me a seat.
Right.
That you could. So you introduce competition, you introduce scarcity, and all of those things, and it starts from there. That
Right.
the chase for
Begins.
success and the chase for wealth and the chase to belong, it starts right there from kindergarten or
Right. And
wherever
I
you.
thought
Yeah.
about that. I never thought about that.
Right.
So
And it's so many of these little things that we do, and how we just introduce kids, to competition and all these things. Or every time, okay, if you do this certain thing, you can be the line leader, or you can be
right.
the what, or the gold stars and everything. And you introducing all these things in the classroom, and you do it at home. And when you're talking about being a good little boy, or that's my good little boy, I mean,
Right.
so you're introducing conditions for love, conditions for, and that just the, it's in you. It's invisible,
Right.
but yeah. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, no, no, I'm just saying I feel like men, especially a lot of guys that I've talked to, as of late, a lot of guys they feel like they don't receive love unless it's under certain conditions, or they can't express love, you know, unless it's under certain conditions, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a no-go.
Yeah. I agree with you. And but you have to, love. I mean, everything starts from inside you. I mean,
Right.
and and to be able to even accept love, you know. So,
Okay.
but this whole we start out chasing and love, looking for everything outside of ourselves, looking for success outside of ourselves, looking for happiness outside of us. And that's the path that we set the kids on, is to look outside yourself. And you tell them, oh, to be successful, go to school, get a good job, get a good house, marry a wife and whatever. And
Right.
that's how you get there. But like you already know, and like I know, and that's what set me on, like, to even look at all this stuff. You look around, you have all the stuff, you have the family, and you feel empty inside.
Yes,
And
sir.
you're trying to
Yes,
figure
sir.
out, well, what happened? And they told me this is the way. This was how I was supposed to get here. And look, so I'm looking and my wife's not happy with me, the kids, we're not getting along that well. What's up? I mean, that's where I was. That's
Right.
where I was. I looked around and I had achieved so much stuff. And one was, you mentioned it. uh, You mentioned it today, and I think you mentioned on last year about performing.
Yep.
We set kids on a path to performance, and that's the way. And then you've done all this performing, but it's all outside of you. So how do
Yeah.
we like look inside, look in the mirror, and how can we like follow our own path? And that's the authenticity.
Right.
So
Oh no, dude, you're good. I just want, I don't know how we start teaching our boys to care about themselves first, you know, and still, because loving yourself, I mean, you can't love anybody if you don't love yourself first.
right.
Yeah.
And
And I find that most of us, we don't care about, we don't put ourselves first because we're so busy trying to do things for everybody else, trying to make other people happy. Um, I was talking to a guest and I was telling them, I watched a speech and I wish I could recall the guy's name again. But again, it was the same situation where guy was talking about Robin Williams. Right.
yeah, Robin Williams.
Yeah. He was talking about, Robin Williams, this famous, successful, hilarious guy, made everybody happy, did all these things to, for his family, for everybody else, but neglected himself. And it
Yeah,
ended
he
up costing.
was miserable inside.
Right. And you would think, and because when we see people on the outside, famous people, you think, man, they got it all. They got money, stardom, fame, everything they could possibly want. But these people are trouble because they don't love themselves. They haven't loved themselves at all. They've been busy performing for everyone else and have done little to nothing for themselves. I don't want my boys to be that way. I don't want my girls to be that way, you know. And I know I need to fix me before I can help other people.
Right. And I'm gonna go back to this model of success that we have offered our kids, that we kind of set them on, is this. Because right now, you look around, man, they used to want to be a millionaire, now they want to be a billionaire.
Right.
And if you look at the millionaires and billionaires, and I don't want to call call any names, but guys that are billionaires or whatever, they're still chasing money. They're
Yep.
still chasing money. They're not happy. They have problems. They have relationship problems. And so that right there which shows you that money and that kind of success is not the way, because
Right.
it's not making them happy. It didn't make Robin Williams happy, not at
Right.
all. But the thing is that look around everywhere around in our culture, in our societies, there it's about bling and achieving and getting stuff. And
Yeah.
so, but so, and you said, so how do we do it? I think how we do it is being emotionally available and allowing kids when they're young to really express their emotions and see their value. Value without conditions.
Mm,
Value is like, because a lot of times, you got a little kid and he does something really good. And you said, "Oh man, I love you so much. You did such a great job," or whatever. But, what about when he didn't get a great job?
right.
I mean, like the Steely Dan song. I want it, where they talk about, I want a name when I lose. I
Right.
mean, so you can't only always recognize when your kids are growing up for the good stuff they do. What about just because of who they are?
Right.
And that you already enough. You are enough, son. You are, I love you just the way you are.
Right.
And as you bring them up that way, and then the other thing is that that's what you demonstrate. That's you walk that way, you talk that way, and you support the children that way when they have when they're upset, when they have emotions, or even when they're not. Love on
Right.
them when they haven't done anything good. Love on them all the time, and don't make such a big deal about how great they are because they made a touchdown or they did a
Right.
thing. Make a big deal about it because they are who they are. And
Right.
I mean that starts to, because we don't have to like pass it down again, because the
Right.
stuff that the way we raise kids is it's inherited, and we just how our parents, how our grandparents, how they did it,
Yeah.
we just blindly do it without examination.
Right. Well, I can tell you, my parents, love my parents to death. They were great people. They were phenomenal providers. We never went without. The problem is that my parents, because they worked so much, they weren't involved a lot, with a lot of things that we did in school. And my parents, my dad grew up in the South. That's my stepdad, but both my parents are Southern parents, and their parents are Southern, and kids were raised, hey, you were seen and not heard. You know, my parents were the same way. They weren't very lovey-dovey. They're great grandparents, like my nephew. Man,
Are we all?
yeah, right.
All of you might
Like,
not be a
listen,
grandparent yet, but
well,
yeah.
yeah, listen, they are phenomenal grandparents. I'm like, hey, where were these sweet, kind, gentle people when I was little? You know, but again,
Yeah.
my parents are phenomenal people. I wouldn't ask for anything better. Just maybe to be hugged and told that hey, I love you more often. That is probably my biggest thing right now, because I've struggled so much searching for connection, and feeling that, in all my relationships, I've never felt that connection. It took forever for that to finally happen for me, and feeling like I was enough, and that's still extremely hard to admit to, but that feeling that I was enough has been my biggest issue, as an adult. In every relationship I've ever been in, I've never felt like I was deserving of love. And that has been something now that I've slowly been working on, you know, talking to people, understanding my own emotions, understanding why I am the way I am, and it's getting better. It's a process. It didn't happen overnight, and I'm not going to fix it overnight.
Right, it's a journey. It's a
Yeah,
journey. It's not a destination, and from where we started,
right,
it's things are gonna come up. You're not gonna figure it all out all at one time, but you can just keep trying. I mean, and, especially, I think you said it, is that it starts inside you. It starts in the mirror. It
Yeah.
starts in it starts with loving you. The only way you can allow other people to love you or feel worthy of love is that if you love you. And that's where it all starts, and it blooms from there.
Right.
I mean, you are, or your life is a mirror of who you are, and as you change who you are, everything around you is going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a mirror, and
Yeah.
my doorbell's ringing. I'm sorry, I don't know if you
But
heard
no,
that or not,
it's all
but
good. It's all
yeah,
good.
but that's the key, and uh, that you know, you whatever you are is what you attract.
Yeah.
Whoever you are is what you attract. And as you change you, then things get better, your environment gets better. And
Right.
the thing is and going first is really important. And because when you go first, and I say go first with emotions
Right.
or and be emotional, but guys really have to feel safe to expect to express emotion. I mean,
Right.
even with your woman,
Right.
or whoever your partner is, you
Right.
have to be
And
able to express or feel that you can uh, express emotion. I mean,
yeah.
not express emotion, but feel safe to do it.
Right. And most of the time we don't.
No, we
If we're like
don't.
we don't feel safe expressing emotion. And when we do, it has to be with the right person. Because the minute we express emotion and then that emotion is turned around on us, you won't ever see that from us again.
No, no. I
You'll
mean,
never
and
see that.
yeah, I spoke to a woman's group the other day,
Mhm.
and a women's group, and I mean that's one of the things I was sharing with them is that you already know men have an issue with communication. I mean,
Right.
with the because I did a poll, and almost out of 200 women that took it, they all said communication was an issue for men. So and I'm saying, yeah, I mean, it is an issue for men because a lot of times men don't feel safe to communicate because again, that you have to have an environment where you feel safe to even
Right.
have that conversation. And what you just said is there's a fear that it'll be coming back, that it'll come back on you when you express how you really feel.
Yes.
And a lot of times guys won't express how they really feel because they have a mask on, and sometimes it's fear that if I let somebody really see me on the inside, that they won't like me anymore,
Yeah.
or they'll think I'm crazy, or they'll think I'm weak.
I was just about to say they'll think you're weak, and
Right.
that is the big thing that I hear from a lot of guys is that I cannot, tell my girl how I really feel about this because, it's gonna turn into something else, or she's gonna not have faith that I can, handle certain like if I tell my girl that, I'm worried about losing my job, you know, then she's gonna be she'll look at me like I'm weak because I'm nervous or I'm scared, but that's not the case. I'm just expressing her, hey, this is a concern that this could happen, but I'm gonna take care of it.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
so the thing is you have to have the ability to, because holding it in is just gonna mess you up more. It's gonna cause you anxiety. It's gonna
Yeah.
it's gonna lead you to some kind of illness. But not being able to communicate what what you're feeling.
Right.
Because and you had the somatic guy on your last show
Yeah.
about how the body stores everything. And
Yes.
when you storing things like in a body, it it becomes illness. And so
Yeah.
that's why you see so many men that are like stressed and they have high blood pressure and they have all these
Heart
things
attacks.
because
Yeah.
they don't feel safe enough to express their feelings. And I mean, sometimes you got to look at, am I with the right partner when I can't share what's
But many of us will not, and I don't want to. I don't want to say his name, but I have a family member who he spent a long time in a relationship that was extremely dysfunctional. You
Mhm.
know, for a while, he was the breadwinner, took care of everything, and then he was out of work for a little while. Company bought him out. So he was out of work. He was home with the kids, doing the things that she did for a while when she went back to work, and he was home with the kids. But suddenly he's not a man anymore because he's not working.
Yeah,
But
and
for the last 10 years, I've been that person. I'm just down on my luck right now, you know, and I'm less of a man because I'm doing what you have been doing. You know that
no, I understand completely what you're saying, but and so the doctrine affects us all.
Yeah.
We all go by the same rules. I mean, patriarchy. Everybody's bought in. It doesn't matter if a single mom is raising boys; she's going to raise them just like the guy would. So it's about what you believe. It's about what you
Mhm.
believe, and if you believe that men are, I mean, their job is to perform, and their job is to get out and bring in the bacon and a lot of a lot of people or a lot of women probably won't be able to accept a man that feels, a man that leads from his heart, or
Yes.
I mean, because we're all brainwashed or we all have these beliefs about what it means to be a man.
Right.
And so I can yeah, I feel for your relative and I
So
understand where it comes from.
yeah. So let me ask you a question. Why do so many men tie their identity to performance, money, dominance, or status?
Well, they tie it to that because that's what they've been taught is that's how you become successful. And
Okay.
and all the images they see, all the images, if you look on TV, radio, wherever, it's all about stuff. It's all about look at all the shows you have on there. You look at the the game shows,
Right.
the dramas, the whatever. Now they came up with a a new black soap opera, Behind the Gates, Beyond the
Yeah.
Gates. I mean, and look at all the just look around. I mean, so this is all the images. You look at I mean, especially us, and I'm so bothered by a lot of our programming, but it's all
Yeah.
about the hustle, the grind, the bling, the whatever. And so
Right.
this is what I mean. You look at all the generations. We got you got Gen Z, millennials. They're all coming up with this. Look at the music that they got, that they listen to, the how it all of that is why.
Eh,
And that's supposed to be how you become happy.
Yeah. Now, I can tell you right now, I listen to some of the music my son listens to, and I'm like, what happened to music? We used to tell stories. You know,
Right.
I mean, music used to be, storytelling about, men being real men, about men, you know, and I mean, hey, it's all right. We're both adults, but I mean, there used to be songs about making love and, how we, raising a family. And there's none of that anymore, you
Well,
know, and that is shaping the minds of, young men today. You know, everything is booty shake this, booty shake that, and how do you, with all the other things that we have going on, you believe in your mind, you believe you have to continue chasing all this paper. You have to you need you know, if you don't make a certain amount of money, you can't find you can't find real happiness, and that's just what we get through some of our music.
but I mean, that's that is one reason why. Okay, for one is and that when you look at the people that are collecting all the paper,
Yeah.
all these billionaires or whatever, there's more than there used to be, and look what they own and look how they did it. I mean, so it's a lot of it, especially our music, was
Yeah.
intentional. It was intentional. Um, in the 80s, I mean, in the 90s when
Right.
we went from, you know, clean rap or whatever to the B's and the H's
Right.
and the paper and the killing and all that. And why I say it's intentional because that's what the studios, so that's what the labels would pay for.
Yeah.
That's what
And
they would pay for. And
it's
then
primarily it's our people though. It
I
is
know we
prime
let them hijack it, but
yeah, yeah.
it is ours, and that goes back to how you make it. It goes back
Right,
to the doctrine is, okay, I don't care how I make the money. I just need to make the money.
right,
I don't care how I get the big house or the big car or whatever. I just need to make the big car, the big money. And then when people come out in the 90s or whatever and speak out against it, then everybody's saying that, ah, man, you just a hater. You just a
yeah.
this. But look what it's done to and what it's doing. And
To our
so, I mean,
our society, to our people, you know,
but a
it's not
lot of us go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
But a lot of us covet it. I mean, so again, well, kids, they watch you. It's not about what you say. And so when you clicking on the TV at night and you looking there and you watching these same programs, I mean, and I would just come out and say it, you watching all these, especially our programming, and
Mhm.
it's all about gangs and it's all about crime and it's all about
Yep.
bling and it's all about violence. And look at the people that are propped up on the TV today as our, uh, our representing our community.
Right,
And you see who they are. They're on The Voice. They're on all the talk shows or whatever, and they made their living by the B's and the B's and the H's and
right,
whatever. But we still, and they got all of these shows on TV. People are telling us who we are, whatever. And
right.
then we sit down and we're watching those shows at night, supporting it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And I say
yeah.
we, the big we, but a lot of us are. And so, how can you tell your kid not to that this is the way, but you covet and you watch and this is the entertainment and whatever that you
Right,
doing? I mean, this is part of the system I'm talking about. That how the music, the everything, all of that is part of why our millennials and why our Gen Zs are chasing money and why they can't seem to find a way.
right. And I think this is more important than ever that men get together and have these conversations because if we don't save our kids, nobody else is going to do it for us.
No.
Yeah. And that is, that is just a statement of fact because if we don't step up, do our job, as fathers, uncles, brothers, whatever your role is in a young man's life, if we don't do it, they're outside people will continue to profit off of us and shape the minds of our kids.
Yeah. And the thing about it is but the first step is we have to take a look in the mirror and really
Yes,
discover
sir.
who we are. How does our walk align with what we really believe or what we truly believe? And where did all those beliefs come from? I'm just
Right,
saying. So if we start, because that's the first place you have to start is you
right,
and how you align with uh your beliefs, how you align with your values. So, and then from there is how we all come together as men and accept, we have to accept what we've done in the past. We have to own up to
right,
the damage, when we look back at the wake, look back at our wake and see what I mean, but we just have to like accept it. It's okay. Forgive yourself or whatever and just move on. But
right,
now we just walk in alignment with our values and who we truly are and take off the mask and don't care what if I lead with my heart that what other people think.
right. And I think you're 100% right, but we have to get to a point where we don't care what other people think, and I think we care too much what other people's opinions are of us. What you know my neighbor's got this, my neighbor's got that, and I'm still struggling, to get something, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I would also like to, I would like for us to stop confusing, vulnerability with weakness, you know, because, and I'm telling you, I'm one of those people, that anytime that I felt vulnerable, and I think this is part of the reason why, like, I struggle with crying so much because when I'm, when I feel vulnerable like that, you know, I feel like I'm being weak, not doing the things that I need to be doing because I'm wasting time crying or I'm wasting time being overly emotional when really the definition, should be, a man who is okay with handling his emotions in any way. That would make you more of a man than hiding, you know, your emotions.
I totally agree with you because allowing yourself, and so the way so vulnerability, when you look at the definition in yeah, I mean, in the dictionary, it does. It's like being vulnerable. It's being that, you're at risk of something happening to you. But so I, I don't talk about it as being, I don't use the word vulnerability. I talk
Mhm.
about it as having an open heart and
Okay.
leading with your heart. I mean, so connecting with your heart. Quiet as it's kept is that your heart sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart.
Mm,
And your heart does more than just pump blood, and it's a powerful organ.
right.
And when you lead with your heart, you leading with strength. And you don't want anybody out here running around and just thinking, because thinking is all ego. Your brain is all ego. You want people to be able to discern. I mean, you get discernment and all those things come from your
Mhm.
heart. So you want a man that can lead from the heart, because a lot of crazy, because the thing is that if you don't have access to your feelings, if you can't be in touch with your heart, you don't have a path to empathy.
Okay.
And so when you don't have a path to empathy, you can drop bombs on a whole bunch of people, killing them, and then you doing chest bumps and slapping high fives,
Gotcha.
because you don't have access to empathy. You don't have access to compassion for other people. You want a
Right.
man strong enough that he can have empathy, that he can be compassionate for other people, that you can be compassionate to your child when he comes up to you and he's crying and he fell down and skinned his knee, and you're not all up in your head talking about, my boys are going to think my little boy is weak. They're going to call him
Right.
a little punk. I'm raising punks over here. I'm
Right.
saying, so when people say, and they, I mean, I know they use the V word, vulnerability, but it
Yeah.
ain't vulnerability. It's leading from your heart, leading from a place here where you can have compassion and empathy, and where you can have discernment. Here your heart knows the truth. And so people can't lie to you. They can't pull the wool over your eyes. So
Right.
the more you get in touch with your heart, the more you get in touch with your feelings. One is you can know everything that's going around you, everything that's going on with you, and you can be a stronger person by being and leading from your heart.
Right. Uh, That's a t-shirt. Make sure, hey, you make sure you save that idea t-shirt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, what are fathers teaching their sons about manhood without even realizing it?
Man, you te- every whenever you whatever you're doing, however you show up in a space, if it's with your friends, with your boys come by, whatever, the kids are watching you, man. So if you
Right.
guys are talking about, woo, look how good that woman looks, you're teaching them how to objectify women. You're teaching them to
Mm,
chase. You teach them how important that car is for you. You're teaching them how, woo, man, the house. You are teaching them all those things. I mean, I I listen to a lot of different music and a lot of different genres.
me too.
And just like there's a country song, and I talk about it in my book, is watching you. It's about how the little kid is watching his dad. He throws a little few little cuss words out there or whatever. It's like, where you learn that? He said, watching you.
Yeah.
And, but he was also watching some of the good things. He was also watching when he prayed at night, when he did this. I mean, but they're watching us. They're learning from you, not from what you say, but how you walk, how you come into a space. So uh, you don't, all you have to do is maybe like, if you could record yourself or think about what you did today or how you walked or what you did, all of that. And if you want to know what you're teaching your kid, that's what you're teaching your kid
Right. Yeah.
because they're walking into the space. So if you went and you said something crazy or whatever, or you was on the phone and you throwing a bunch of F words out or whatever, I don't know. Or even if you were on the phone gossiping, or if you were on the phone, whatever you're doing in front of your child, that's what you're teaching them. So
Right.
whatever shows you're watching on TV, that's what you're teaching them.
So I want to backpedal a little bit because I really want to talk about the book for a minute.
Yeah.
So I give up. I'm gonna save my questions for a second. Tell us about the book a little bit, and then I'll build
Okay.
off it.
Right. So what the book is a lot of what we've been talking about today. Is what I do is I mean the book, like I said, is based on life experience because I was like, how did I get here? I'm at 40, I'm at whatever, and everything around me is all screwed up. I'm not
Mm,
I'm succeeding at work. I'm making all these sales and everything, but my relationships at work, and then more importantly, my relationship with at home. My wife, my son. My son's calling me at work and he's saying, "Hey dad, when are you coming home?" And because we usually play basketball, I do other stuff in the evenings and whatever. And I say, "Well,
yeah.
I'll be home soon, son." And I traveled a lot. And so I was beginning to have all these regrets. Things were just not working out right. So I was like, and then I'm like, well, how did I get here? So I ended up with a coach and from work, they said, I'm having problems with all these other guys, but I'm the one that ends up with a coach. But that's the best thing that ever happened to me, executive coach. And I had a choice of three, but one was more of a life coach.
Mm,
And she really she introduced me something called the Enneagram, and that's my personality type, and I'm a type 3, and I'm the achiever. But
okay.
and I she showed me how I was out here performing, and I was thinking like everybody must think like me, and I'm out here, I'm bringing home the bacon, I'm doing this, I'm making a life for these people. I mean, so how come they don't how come they don't see all the work I'm doing? But they didn't care about all that. All they wanted me to do is just be there, sit there,
Right.
and spend time with them, and just not perform, but be present. And
Right.
so I started working on myself, which I've been doing for over 20 years. And then after all that, I start seeing the problems that my son, nephews, whatever. So I decided to write a book. And I decided to go back and look at at, and there's a I was in the manufacturing industry,
Mm,
and there's this guy named Deming. He's a mathematician, statistician, and he says if the majority of people, or say the majority of say widgets or whatever is coming off assembly line, if they have the same problem, then it's not the people, it's the system.
right.
And then so I'm looking at if majority of men have issues and they have problems and they're disconnected from their emotions, it's not the individual man, it's the system. So I decided
Mm,
to go back and look at the system that we are using to rear men, to change men. And so I look at the system,
outstanding.
how we and then the effects it has on men, us, which is more importantly, because and then from there, all our relationships, our communities, and the world. And then I offer a different vision of success and how to do this thing and some practices to to get there so we can discover who we really are, so we can live more authentically, and so we can get back in touch with and lead with a heart. I mean, so that's the book. It just takes you on that. This is how we're doing it. This is the
Right.
effect it's having. I mean, you can look around the world today. That is the effect that it's having on us. And because man, there's so many guys that feel the same way we do or got to a place where we do. It's like, what's it all
Well,
for?
and that's the thing is that is we have to start leaning on each other. I grew up in Jersey, and
Yeah.
back in the day, it was, I couldn't go anywhere
Mhm.
without somebody. If I was doing something out of line,
Right,
somebody
right,
they would stop and be like, "Hey, I know your grandfather, and I know you ain't supposed to be doing that." You know, we aren't a community, taking care of our children anymore. We're just a bunch of individuals who happen to live on the same street,
yeah,
and
right,
that is, I think we need, especially for our people, that was great growing up. Like, I never got into anything. I was the kid who could go to the bar and grab a pack of cigarettes from my grandfather because,
right,
hey,
right,
they knew my grandfather, but we don't have the same sense of community anymore. And I think, especially for us, you know, being in this, I love this country, but being away from heritage, belonging, just traditions, even, you know, we need our community, and
right.
we have to figure out a way to get back to that. And like you said, first we got to look at ourselves, fix yourself first, because you can't put on you you don't want to put on everybody else's mask, while the plane is going down. You can't help nobody like that,
Right.
So, um, you answered my question that I was going to ask you about the book. So, all right.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is we y I have a thing I talk about is that if everybody just in their circle, in
Mhm.
their sphere of influence, just move the needle a little bit. That's what it takes. It takes
Right.
all of us doing what we can do in our circle, in our environment, and that is what's gonna change the world. Is
Right.
and that's when, how you say it starts with us. I mean, I go back to Michael Jackson's The Man in the Mirror. It starts,
Mm,
it that's where it starts. It starts in the mirror, and it starts with me. It starts with all of us, and then if we take responsibility for our own self and we focus on the people in our own lives. Can you imagine if you just, you know, in your household and your
yes.
children, and you change your walk, and they all see it. That's how it's done right there. And then you can go out to, whatever it is, the lodge or the other clubs or outside, and then you can spread it. But it starts with your walk, the way you show up in spaces. That is that's what people see. They'll see it in you. They'll ask you. They'll say, "Michael, man, what's going on with you? You seem a little different."
Right.
I don't really know how you are in those places, but that's how it starts. They'll say, "Man, Michael sure is, this," and it'll all be like they'll wonder, how you change, what are you doing? What are you doing, Michael? And I mean, that's how it happens. It's not everybody wants to do this whole big macro thing. Let's go out and save the world. And
Right.
pretty much, in our community, everybody wants to get up, rally, go, do some protest or whatever, if something's happened. But that's easy. Demolishing something or tearing down something or whatever, that's easy, or war. It's
Yeah.
a war against this, a war against that, and we need to go out. But what is hard, what is difficult is building something. And I
Mm,
have this thing about there's a difference between being against something and for something. Because if you're against something and one little thing changes, like I'm against, what happened to name it, whatever, ICE killed somebody,
Right.
or, I'm against that. I went out, I protested, whatever, and all that. Then it's over. But if I'm for peace, if I'm for a better community, then I don't stop until, if say somebody wants to, I'm for building a park in my neighborhood.
Right.
And I'm gonna build a park in that neighborhood. But if I'm just against somebody like building a mall or whatever or something like that, we go out protest or whatever. Win or lose, it's over. You just stop. But being for something, it's a different energy, it's a different vibration,
Right.
but we need to be for. If you want to build your community, you need to be for something, not against something. When you go back and look at Martin Luther King, he was for peace. He was for freedom. He was for all those things. That's why he kept going, kept going, kept going. But when he was murdered, nobody really took up the for.
Yeah. And
They
that
never
and
took up the
we're missing that.
for.
We're missing that in our communities
We're
today.
missing it.
We have no real representation, no leadership, and I mean, again, I understand that it starts at home, but, you know, I remember, growing up reading about, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and we don't have that same leadership, something to rally around.
Yeah. And the thing about
Yeah.
me is I lived through because I was born in 1959.
Okay.
And so I'm in that generation, and some people call it the Jones generation. I'm in the one right the end of the boomers and the beginning of the X's.
Yeah.
And, so I lived through the '60s on into the '70s. And so it was right at at the end where, the boomers were booming, so things are kind of slowing down then.
Right.
And then the '60s come. And then, so it just, we kind of have a different perspective. And I was there when all this stuff was going on.
Right.
And, as at 9, 10, 11 years old. So,
Y
uh, it's kind of a different perspective and just live through it.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, because you've lived through it, so, I mean, you can speak on things differently than, those of us who have just read about it.
right, right.
So, when you're on the sideline watching something is completely different from being part of something when it's happening.
Mhm.
So you know, again, I talk to a lot of my family members about, these things, and I just all I c at this point, all I can do is, you know what, try to do better than I did yesterday, every day. Is just try to keep doing better, you know, and this is this is part of trying to be better, trying to do better, leave different opinions of who we are as men and who we are as people. You know, this is my, thing that I want to be a part of, you know. So with that being said, final question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. If you could speak directly to boys before the world hardens them, what would you want them to hear from you?
What I would want them to hear from me is to follow your own dreams and be your authentic self, and don't
Ooh,
really care about what other people think, because everything you need is in you. You don't have to perform. You don't have to do any of that. And if you go through this life and you follow your own, because you're here to follow your own path, not your mom's, not your
right.
dad's, not grandpa's path, none of that. You're here for your own path. Just really be in touch with who you are, discover who you are, and you'll be fine. Follow your
Outstanding.
own dreams.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kenneth Alexander, author of The Successful Man. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Kenneth, thank you so much for coming on the show. Listen, I would like to stay in touch. I'm going to follow you on all the socials that I can. Maybe it might be a little stalkerish, but I definitely want to follow, what you're
Well, let's
doing on
connect. Let's
social.
connect and
Yeah,
have some conversations,
yes, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I would love to have you back on. And maybe bring some additional guests on just so we could have an even a more in-depth conversation too, because then we get some additional views and whatnot involved in the conversation. So again, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and we definitely gotta have to stay in touch.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
All
I
right.
really appreciate you and for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do this again sometime very soon. Take
All
care of
right.
yourself.
Thanks
Have
a
a good
lot.
one.
Bye.